Hello, this is Yonmo Yonmakurum. I'm going to the Auto China site in Buzhen today. I've come back to the BYD store. There's a reason. Among BYD vehicles, there's one car that I really wanted to introduce to you. Is it the smallest model, the Dolphin? No, it's not. There's a car even smaller than the Dolphin. It's the Seagull. Every time I come to China, I've seen it several times, but haven't had the chance to introduce this car. Right now, it's here at the BYD showroom. The Seagull is even smaller than the Dolphin. It's really small, but wow, its unique character is amazing. I've featured it on my channel before, and many people have commented on it. Isn't this it? No, it's not. It's not Steven Seagal, guys. And because of this sharp, pointy design, it reminds me of Lamborghini. The car that people mention this about a lot is the Seagull car. Isn't the design of this small car pretty attractive too? There's a reason why I'm introducing this to you. The Atto 3 was released first in Korea, and then the Dolphin was launched at a little over 20 million won. How much do you think the price of the Seagull in front of us is? In the Chinese market, it's just over 10 million won. Those vehicles usually look unattractive. They were lacking in far too many ways. But the basics of this vehicle are actually pretty solid. Because it's not very big, it lacks a spacious interior. However, it offers useful features. Let's begin by looking at the Seagull's design. The front design really has these sharp, pointy edges and an angular look. So a lot of people have said, hey, isn't this a Lamborghini? I think that's the kind of reaction it's been getting. That's a huge compliment for the Seagull. There are areas in the design where you feel like there should be fog lights. When you look at it from the front, it's definitely different from other BYD vehicles. It's different, but it's definitely good looking. Even as a man, I think it looks great. Check out this design. This part of the design also has a sharp look, as if all the angles are perfectly aligned. So when I first saw Seagull, I was in a hurry. I couldn't show it to you properly because I was just letting you know. I actually saw Seagull at the exhibition before it went into mass production. Instead of having two wipers like this, it used to have a design that covered the entire windshield, like old Benz cars, which I mentioned was very unique, but now it has two wipers. How small is this Seagull vehicle? At 3,780 millimeters, it's under 4 meters long and much smaller than the domestically sold Venue. Its size is comparable to compact cars like the Morning or Ray. The width of the vehicle is 1,715 millimeter. The height is 1,540 meter, and the wheelbase, which determines the interior space, is larger than expected. The wheelbase is the distance between the front and rear wheels. So, as I mentioned, it represents the interior space, and that figure is 2,500 millimeters. Usually mid-size cars have about 2,800 millimeters and large cars like the Palisade have just under 3 meters, but this car is a really small one with less than 3 meters. Considering its size, having 2,500 mm here means it has a pretty decent interior space. And the most important thing in an electric car, the battery, is equipped with a BYD battery, and according to Chinese standards, it can drive from 305 kilometers up to a maximum of 405 kilometers. If it launches in Korea, I think the range will be less than this. You could say it's an electric car that can drive about 200 km to 300 kilometers. Let's check out the rear design as well. The rear design is also simple. It's quite cute. But just because it's a small vehicle doesn't mean it's lacking in detail or anything like that. I think this is pretty attractive. You probably thought this too. Hey, is this color weird right now? It looks strange, right? It's turquoise. With View Aid, now regardless of the car class, from the smallest compact cars to the largest vehicles, autonomous driving technology is provided for all. This is something we've been developing for a long time and will keep moving in this direction. Now that this is reality, even these vehicles have the turquoise-colored autonomous driving system. The charge port door isn't power operated, it's at the front. In Korea, having it at the back would definitely be more convenient, but since the car is small, I think it's fine. It shouldn't be too inconvenient to use. Maybe it's because I've only seen really big cars, but this one feels cute. It's 175/55 16 inches. 16 inches. The ride quality is really amazing. Even without actually riding it, I think it would be pretty good. That's my guess. This design is unique, with the third row extending like a tail from the section connecting the first and second rows on the side. This makes the vehicle feel very speedy, and at the same time, it's a design that adds a sense of tension. Now let's check out what kind of appeal the interior space has. Let's check out the rear interior space we've been curious about. Well, it's not on a power tailgate or anything like that. Open it like this, and pressing it opens it. So the Seagull is actually a really small car, but I told you to look at the hinge on the BYD car first, right? So what about the hinge on this car? No, it's not. Among BYD cars, this is the only one that doesn't use the machined hinge method. But I can understand this car. It's a car in the low 10 million won range, so expecting it to have the machined parts used in Genesis cars is a bit much. That would be unreasonable from the start. Among the BYD cars I've seen, the Seagull is pretty much the only one in the 10 million won range that uses this kind of hinge, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. Now, about the door trim. It's great for a car in the 10 million won range. Usually cars in the 10 million won range just have a dark color with a simple pattern and that's it. The reason is, if you use several types of plastic even for just one door trim, each one requires its own mold, right? So the cost goes up significantly, but considering that, I think this level of quality is pretty good for a small car. The design of the door trim is simple, but it's not made of really cheap materials. Considering the class of the car, I think this is luxurious enough. The steering wheel design is also good. Now, when you get inside, it's not luxurious, but it feels pleasantly fresh. Especially with electric cars, sometimes the instrument cluster disappears altogether, but that's not the case here. A clear instrument cluster is provided. There's also about a 10-inch infotainment screen. Hey, considering this car is a small car, this is more than enough. The UI is almost the same as in BYD vehicles. One unique aspect is that they've added orange-colored stitching like this. Maybe it's the orange accent that makes it feel fresh and lively. They've added 5 diamond patterns here, and I think when it's frosty, air will come out through them. Hold on, let me try it. Air is coming out. I tried it just in case, and air is definitely coming out. It works, that's right. It's charming too, and it seems to serve its functional role well. The camera that monitors the driver is located here on the A-pillar. They've added a wave pattern on the top like this, right? It reminds you of a dolphin's tail. And looking at it from the side like this, there's a hole in this part, but they've intentionally added some patterns on the side as well. So it naturally leads the design to flow smoothly on the surface. But here, everyone, it's an electric car costing around 10 million won. Wow! For this price, the build quality is pretty good in my opinion. Look at these parts. It's hard to believe this is the cheapest car. It's even two-tone. The difference in materials is noticeable, but for this class, it even feels like a luxury car. Design elements like paddle shifters are also found here. The gear selector marking is right here. It's just like the design in imported cars. It looks like you just press the side for parking. And on both sides, there are toggles and a volume dial. It looks like the same design as luxury cars, but the materials are different. Especially the feel of the volume dial, which you use often, is different. I was surprised. If you try turning this volume dial in a car like Pengchomba, you'll be like, wow, is there really this much of a difference? It might not seem like a big deal, but emotionally, there's a definite difference. In the center, you can see the bid logo. Physical buttons are also on the lower center stack. It's not like the tactile feel is amazing or anything like that. It provides buttons that let you know which functions are working to a reasonable extent. Also, there are toggle buttons on both sides like this. It seems to be for functions like auto stop or regenerative braking. Next to it, this looks like a terrain mode, but I'm not exactly sure. Toggle buttons are also provided. There's an air vent at the bottom, and since the adjustment range is wide, if you raise it up, it can easily reach an adult's face. The airflow is also pretty good. And there's another feature that's really cute but also essential. You can charge your smart devices with it. Still, it's nice that it's provided, right? As the latest 50-watt spec, it's basically the fastest speed current smart devices support. Well, 100-watt charging is also available, but smart devices don't support up to 100 watts yet. Of course, a glove box is also provided. The size of the glove box isn't particularly large. Since this is the lowest trim level, there aren't any sound-absorbing pads inside. If you buy this car, adding things like that yourself could be part of the fun. A small pocket is provided on the side door. There's also a pocket at the bottom, but it's not very big. A 1.5-liter water bottle won't fit. The center console has space for about 1 cup holder. I don't think this space was available in the Dolphin, but here, a storage space is provided. Considering the size of the vehicle, the storage space isn't very large, but it's quite deep. I think it's about 30 centimeters deep. If you need to store something with some depth, you can use it efficiently. The bridge-style console provides storage space both above and below like this, and it comes with 2 USB ports, 1 Type-C and 1 Type-A. Well, this amount of space is enough, and even so, for a compact car, the width is really small. It seems like it could be very useful. And when it comes to storage, the more storage space you have, the better. And the paddles are a bit unique. Maybe it's because this is a display vehicle, so they've blocked it off like this. They're not flashy or anything like that. Then let's take a look at the first row seats. The first row seats don't really support your back comfortably. They're a bit small. They have to be small. If you look at the space between the first and second rows, it's only about the width of a hand. That's just the nature of a compact car. In a way, both people can sit close and face each other while driving. But if the two people aren't on good terms, it could be a bit awkward. You probably shouldn't buy a car like this if that's the case. Still, for a compact car, the first row seats are acceptable. What about the seat bottom? 2. What I really find impressive about BYD vehicles is that they don't mess around with the seat cushion. It's not compact sized. They actually provide a seat cushion that's more like a mid-size car. However, the width isn't that wide. I'll adjust the first row to a reasonable position and then check the space in the second row. Of course, if it's too spacious, it might feel like cheating, but is it still usable? Now let's look at the second row space. These light-colored seats definitely make the interior look much more spacious, but is it actually a comfortable space? Alright, I'm sitting in the second row now. First, looking at the first row from the second row, if no one told you, you wouldn't think this is a compact car. Maybe it's because of the bright colors, but it looks even more spacious. And now that I'm sitting in the second row, it's actually better than I expected. Honestly, the second row is definitely a bit surprising. As you can see, there's a slight gap under my thighs. But what's important is that my feet can slide all the way under the front seat, which lets me sit comfortably. My shoes fit all the way in. Compared to other electric cars, I think the second row seat is set pretty high. And when I sit like this, the seat fully supports under my legs, making it really comfortable. In this position, there's room for about 1.5 fists between my knees and the seat ahead. For headroom, I can't fit a full fist above my head. Of course, since it's about the size of a compact car, I think this much space is acceptable. Honestly, I think it's better than I expected. Well, for long-distance trips, it could be uncomfortable, but among the cars I've ridden, it's not that cramped. Looking from the second row, I noticed there's a sunglasses case above the first row. I'm thankful that they provide something like this, even in a compact car. I was disappointed recently because there was no sunglasses case, so I really like this. The interior space is pretty good. If the person in the front row moves their seat a bit forward and you sit in the second row, I don't think there will be much to complain about. But if 4 big adult men are going to use this car, I wouldn't recommend it. Every time you get in, complaints will probably increase. On the other hand, if adults sit in the first row and children sit in the second row, wouldn't this amount of space be enough for a young family? Lastly, let's check the trunk space. This is the trunk space. The trunk space is almost completely taken up by the second row seat. This is about the actual usable area. If you usually go to the supermarket and buy a lot of groceries, then this is definitely a small space. But if you just make small grocery runs often, you could say it's enough space. But personally, what I'm a bit concerned about is the safety aspect. The space behind the trunk can be called a buffer zone. When a car gets hit, this area becomes the safety zone. If we assume there are people sitting in the back, the buffer space would ultimately be this trunk area. Considering such cases, instead of frequently using the second row, it would be better to use it occasionally and enjoy a lifestyle centered around the first row. I think this would still be an attractive car for people like this. But you know, even after considering these few drawbacks, the price in the low 10 million won range is really attractive and makes this car hard to resist. So far, I've told you about the charming Seagull at the BYD showroom. Now, I'll go look for more interesting videos. Thank you. If this was even a little helpful, please give it a like. Subscribe and turn on notifications to get accurate new car information quickly. Thank you.